County historically has always had a good relationship with New York. And there are some people that live in New York City that also have a place in Bucks County as their country home. We're just really fortunate that we live in an area, like you said, we have such rich history, but then we also have such a variety of architectural styles.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Welcome to the hOMe Show, where we sit down with builders, designers, and real estate professionals shaping the spaces we call home. I'm your host, Oscar Michaels, founder of hOMe Media. And in each episode, we dive into the stories behind the brands, the strategies behind the success, and the marketing moves that help these local leaders stand out. From concept to completion, from startup to legacy, this is where real conversations happen. So today we're here with Cary Simons with Kerfis Sotheby's International Realty. What office are you technically based out of?
My car.
Your car? Fair enough.
I kind of split my time between New Hope and Bryn Mawr, really.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Cary and I Cary's been one of our, first clients to ever work with us and longtime friend at this point. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to have you here. We've been working together for a long time and built a great relationship, in my opinion. And I'm excited to go over, your experience in the real estate market, specifically in these areas. And I think a lot of our viewers and listeners are going to enjoy, what you bring to the table as an agent, your experience, and some of the stories that, you've created along the way. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are and, where you came from and how you got into real estate to start with?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. And the feeling is mutual. We go way back. I was trying to think about on the way here, how long, it has to be at least a decade, right? That we've known each other.
So we've been in business for 9 years in March. So
okay.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. You
were one of the probably first 5 or 6 clients.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
We grew up together.
Pretty much.
So I have been in this industry for 20 years as a licensed agent. I'm licensed in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I am a second-generation real estate agent, and that's how I got into the business. On my father's side, my father was a second-generation builder, so I guess it was inevitable that I ended up in this field in some capacity.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went to college. I went to Westchester University. I got a bachelor's in fine arts with a concentration in graphic design and marketing, and I have a minor in art history. And when I graduated from college, my mom said to me, I think you should try real estate. I think you'd be really good at it. And I said, absolutely not. I grew up with it, and it is crazy, and it's 24/7, and it's a roller coaster. And I never thought that I would be in this profession. It was not something that I had planned to do. Sure. So, of course, you can't listen to your parents because what do they know about life, right? Sure. So I went along my way, and my mom always supported me in whatever I wanted to do, whatever path any of the three of us wanted to do. Do what you want to do, and I will support you. So I took a job at an architectural firm, George Donovan and Associates, and I was their marketing department. They had about 30 employees, which is a pretty sizable architectural firm for the suburbs.
That's huge.
They were in Doylestown at the time. So I did all of their marketing, web content, community outreach and collaboration with, the Audubon Society. There was the barn tour they did every year. I would do the photographs and the marketing material for that. So the owner of the firm was very into community involvement. So he encouraged me to do the same with Chamber of Commerce and things like that. It was a great environment. It was like a creative frat house, right? So with architects, interior designers, et cetera. And I loved that. And I was in the office and out of the office. If they had trade shows and things like that, I would help set up the booths and interact with people and really help market and sell the company's services. They had a sister company that was a construction company, so I provided the same services for them as well. And any project that went through that architectural firm went across my desk because whether I had to put together the presentation for the zoning hearing board meetings in various municipalities or put together presentations for end user clients, I had something to do with that. So it really, that firm does everything: residential, institutional, commercial, adaptive reuse, et cetera. So I learned a tremendous amount, and I built wonderful relationships within that firm and then also with their partners. They collaborated with engineers, builders, zoning, township officials, et cetera.
Sure.
I really learned about real estate from the ground up. I did that for about 5 years. And then I felt like I kind of hit the ceiling. Like I felt like I learned everything that I could have at that time. And there wasn't really much room for growth for me at that point. And then I thought, oh, maybe my mom had a point, right? Maybe I should try real estate.
Yeah.
So I figured, you know what? I'll get licensed. I'll take the courses. I'll get licensed. If I don't like it, I move on. I do freelance graphic design. I do something else. And I got licensed in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I started in, Kirpus had an office in Doylestown at that time. I started there, and week number 1, I'm sitting at a desk, and there was an agent, about my mom's age in there, and she asked another agent a question about a septic system. And I spun around and rattled off some information about soil classifications and all these different sexy septic things, right? And then I went back to what I was doing, and she came over and said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Cary." And she said, "Well, how do you know all of this?" And it was like this big light bulb went off. And I'm like, I am exactly where I am meant to be, because I realized that I was then funneling all of my, knowledge gained, everything that I learned, the relationships that I built. And then with my marketing background, everything came together. And it gave me an advantage, basically, to really be able to speak to different facets of real estate. So I never looked back, and I'm in my 20th year.
Oh my God. Well,
Yeah.
Congratulations. 20 years in the business.
I know.
That's incredible.
Time flies by when you're having fun.
Seriously. And to have that full background, like that's just so, in my opinion, necessary for, especially like the listings that you do. Like you're in the luxury tier, in my opinion, for the most part, right? So like having all that knowledge like comes full circle, because there are very complex and complicated and challenging situations that I'm sure you run into on a daily basis.
Absolutely. So it's not what the reality TV shows portray.
Oh my God.
And it's there. You wear many hats, and you have to be versatile and knowledgeable on so many different things to help your clients and best serve them. So I feel very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in and truly love what I do. Because I don't think if you actually took a survey of people and they were honest about whether they truly like their profession or their job, I'm guessing probably 80% of them would just say it's a means of survival.
100%.
So I feel very lucky to be in that minority that really fuels me. And you know what? You have to love it. You have to be passionate to do this job, because it is a grind. It can be very stressful. Its markets fluctuate. And, if you aren't truly passionate about it, you're probably not going to survive for the long term, is the reality of it. And it's not for everyone.
It's definitely not. I was
Right.
going to say, like, when I got into this, like, COVID was like, we were in it for like a year or so before, but COVID just happened. Like, it was starting to happen. And we were, making all this money. Like, it was very busy. It was a great time. But like when that COVID like stopped, that was like the real test of like, do I want to do this? you
Right.
know? Right. At that time, I had all my eggs in one basket, like just shooting real estate. So we had to, diversify and find other jobs that made sense to pay the bills. Right.
Right.
So like, you really do have to be passionate about what you are doing in life.
Right.
And there's people in situations that don't have that opportunity or can't make that jump like right away. So
Right.
it's like something you should plan. Like, what do I want to do? You're
Right.
here for a certain amount of time. Might as well love being here, right?
Exactly. Because even if someone works Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, that's a good percentage of your waking hours. So it's great if you can find something that you're at peace with or you love, better yet. And
make money.
Exactly. Yes.
So tell me a little bit about how your mom's career went, and like how that shifted into you like finding that career. Was she in it for a long time, her whole career?
She was. I would say probably when I was in middle school, I think my mom got into real estate. I'd have to really think about that. Now, maybe actually younger, but she raised 3 of us on her own. When she started real estate, she was working 3 jobs. She worked very hard to gain traction and become a successful agent. So I saw how hard she worked, and I saw how crazy it was, the industry. I admire her. She's my mentor. She's my everything. So it's great to be able to work with family. And she has always been, she started out in new construction, but then when she went to resales, she went to Kerfus. So she has always been with that brokerage. So when I got licensed, I joined them as well. And I'm really happy that I did. And they've grown tremendously too when we affiliated with Sotheby's. Sure. So it's a really great brand. It's a boutique company. We have almost 100 agents, but then we have the international exposure and marketing behind that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you know, my husband joined me.
Yeah.
And so Larry came from a totally different industry. He was in the medical device industry. So his career path was always sales, though, pharmaceuticals, then medical device. Then he started his own medical device distribution company and DME company. And both of those businesses were sold. On his own, he came to me one day and said, I think I'm going to get my real estate license. And this is still why his businesses were active. So he said, I absorbed so much of it from you, and because I talk about it incessantly.
I imagine.
So if you can't beat them, join them, I guess. But
dinner is always real estate.
Yeah. So he said, I'm going to get my license and I can kind of jump in part-time and help you here and there. I can sit open houses. I said, that's great. So he went and got his license. He gets his license from Harrisburg. I said, okay, you're sitting in an open house. When? Sunday afternoon. He's like, it's football Sunday. I said, when do you think these things are happening? You can check the score from your phone. But he adjusted. So he did a little bit here and there part-time. And then when he sold his businesses, he came to me and said, I'm thinking a lot about my next chapter and I'm looking for a change. And your growth is tremendous and you're so busy and I want to be part of that and I want to support you and partner with you on this. So I'm going to join you in real estate full time. So I said, well, that's great. We'll either kill each other or it will work. So, and we haven't killed each other yet. So it must be working.
Nice.
So
does he love it? Like, is he really getting into it? Or
yeah, he is such a people person.
For sure.
So it's very natural for him. He can talk to anyone. And it's a great collaboration because he brings things from his industry into mine and their approach. And you kind of figure out a middle ground or what works or what doesn't work. So it's great to have a fresh perspective on it. And, we basically have a small family team. My mom is still actively licensed and I don't trust anybody more than my family. And so that's who I trust my clients with. It's a really great thing also to be able to work with your spouse and your family because that's also really unique. It's not for everyone and not everyone has the opportunity to do that. So that's another reason that I feel very fortunate that I can do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always thought should I ever make hOMe Media a partnership or, bring other mindsets in here? And I've always been weary of it just because I built it from my baby, So, I've kicked the idea around, but I've never really pursued it. We have great people that work with us, the people that have trained under me and have grown with the company. We have some new people now and it's turned into an awesome thing. And, I don't think I have plans to change it in that sense, but it is cool when people, a family business, that's just a cool story to have.
Yes.
And I met your mother for the first time this past year.
Oh, really?
At that Doylestown listing that you had.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the very first time I ever met her.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
You're Cary's mom. Because I think I beat you there and I met her and she was already fluffing pillows and stuff and made it perfect. So it was adorable.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
So you've been with Kerfus the entire time you've been a licensed agent. Okay. Who were they with before Sotheby's?
So they've always been Kerfus Real Estate, but they were the exclusive affiliate of Christie's Great Estates for a stretch of time when I joined them. And then they were approached by Sotheby's, which is a long vetting process, and asked to join to be an affiliate for that network. And that's just been incredible. I'm lucky that I was where I was and they decided to affiliate with Sotheby's. So, it's an incredible brand.
Explain the brand a little bit. They're very different than every other brokerage in that sense.
Yes.
They're like art dealers. They're in fashion in some degree. There's a lot going on.
So Sotheby's auction house is the largest auction house in the world. And at some point, I believe it was in the 70s, a light bulb went off and someone at the auction house said, wait, we're selling the contents from these estates. Why are we not selling the real estate? And with that, the real estate division was born.
Wow.
So if you travel anywhere around the world, literally around the world, and you'll see Sotheby's on signs, there's usually a name like Kerfis Sotheby's.
sure,
So they're
affiliated.
independently owned and operated, but they're the exclusive affiliate for Sotheby's International Realty in that territory. Now, there are some offices that are corporate owned in the most expensive zip codes, such as Manhattan. If you
Sure.
go into New York City, the signs will just say Sotheby's International Realty. And
Yep.
we're lucky because they're headquartered there, the real estate division. So they are two different companies, but they collaborate. And they also have we'll do cross marketing with them
Sure.
because it's the same clientele.
Of course.
So it's kind of a beautiful blend there.
Yeah.
So, and whenever I travel, which isn't that often, I need to work on more balance, but I always stop into a Sotheby's office because they're literally everywhere and connect with other agents in the network. And that's incredible as well. So wherever my clients are coming from or going to, I know that I can pick up the phone and figure out who the best fit is for them. And I know that I'm putting them in trusted hands and vice versa. Of
awesome.
people, saying, hey, I have someone moving to your area. Can you help them? Type
I
of
always
thing.
find myself online. I'll be like searching in Italy, like
Yes.
houses, and Sotheby's is always the first one that pops up.
Yes.
It's just amazing. So that network, that's the other thing. Like with Sotheby's, the network is a global network. That's one thing that I hear all the time about the Sotheby's. People relocate all the time,
Right.
and especially in the luxury tier because they're in pharmaceuticals or banking or finance, whatever. So you have that global network to pull from, and I'm sure it's helpful to stop into offices because you never know who you're going to meet.
Well, exactly. And it truly is a global network. I know some other brokerages say they do international, but it as far as I know, it's the only one that really truly is worldwide. And
Sure.
it's fascinating, and it's such a great thing. And it really is a great network of professionals. There's a difference in the level of professionalism, and some of their backgrounds are fascinating too. Agents is where they came from, their career path to Sotheby's. So it's a
I've
great
met
thing.
quite a few Sotheby's agents through working with Kerfis, and like some people from Florida will comment on our posts, or we worked with another Sotheby's up in northern New Jersey. I think it's KL Sotheby's.
Oh yes,
It's
yes.
just cool how like they see us working with them, and then immediately they're like, hey, we have a couple agents that might have a property that we want you to shoot.
Right.
It's like, wow.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
because we photographed the Sotheby's property.
We're
and
ev-
saw it.
We're everywhere, and you travel. So
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I would love to get one of those in Italy. I would do it for free.
there you go.
Just fly me out there. Talk about what your, goals are moving forward. So you've been doing this for 20 years. I'm sure maybe you haven't thought about it a lot, but I'm sure you have, knowing you're a planner.
Right.
What do you see in your future in real estate? Do you plan to stay doing this? Do you want to have your own brokerage one day? Do you want to stay at Sotheby's?
So
That's a loaded question, I understand.
I know. I mean, I've thought about it a bit, but the reality of it is, I see myself doing this for a very long time, and I think what a lot of people from other industries don't understand, or they have a hard time wrapping their head around it, is it's up to you when you decide to retire, right? So it's not
You can be
corporate
as busy
America.
or as slow as you want.
Well, right. And, Larry and I had dinner with some friends a few years ago, and I was chatting about something. It was another Kerfis agent who was getting ready to retire at 83. And she referred me to her daughter. She said, can you sell my daughter's house for her? Which I took as a huge compliment that she chose me out of all the awesome agents, at Kerfis. So I said, of course, I'd be honored. And so I was just conversation. And my friend said, did you just say that she's retiring at 83? I said, yes, why? They're like, that's insane. I said, well, it's up to her. No one held her hostage there.
Sure.
So
You love it.
they're like, I want to be retired by time I'm, everybody has this plan, but I was also out to dinner with people in corporate America, pharmaceuticals. That's a very different world and a different grind, right?
It's a whole different grind.
So you're working for the man, right? Larry always jokes around with me in the Powerball's at a high number. Should we buy a ticket? What would we do? What would we do if we won? And he'll say to me, you wouldn't stop working, would you? I said, no, I would probably just be more selective, or, I'd do more investing with my winnings from the lottery ticket, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing. When you love what you do, you do it until it's kind of run its course and you want to wind it down. So for the time being, I'm on the same course. I like that I have a small family team.
Sure.
I mean, in the future, could I see bringing in some support staff on the
Sure.
back end? Yes. Would I bring in other agents? Possibly, but it's a quality control thing with me as well. And it takes a lot of time to mentor someone and train them as well.
It's a big learning curve for me. Like we grew fast because of COVID, like way too fast, and that can kill a business. I've read so much about it since then, and that's huge. Being very selective of who's, because they are wearing your brand on their shirt, literally, like showing up and meeting your clients, and they have to be you to some degree.
Right. So. And there's so much involved, and it's typically a client's biggest asset is real estate, right? And I take that very seriously, and I treat every client like family, right? I am not going to allow them to make negative decisions that may impact them from a resale perspective. With the crazy COVID market, people just started to become irrational. Like, there's a train track in the backyard. Well, that's okay. I mean, we need to buy a house. I'm like, no, because when you call me in 5 to 10 years
you're gonna be mad
and ask me to sell it, you could have a problem with resale. So let's take a deep breath here and figure it out, right? Yeah. So sometimes you have to reel people in, particularly in the market that we've had with COVID, because people started to almost become desperate and insane.
I was at photo shoots and didn't even finish photographing the property, and the agent would be like, yeah, that guy just bought it cash sight on scene. And
right.
It's like, what?
Right.
He's like, you don't have to finish, I'll still pay you. And it's like,
right.
I'm not going to argue, but that's crazy. Like, a $3 million house, no inspections, nothing. Like, you just bought it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it didn't happen super frequently, but it happened.
Yes.
Especially in this area, I feel like it was big. A lot of New Yorkers flooded down here. They had the money. It's like $3 million to them.
Right.
500,000 to us.
Right.
So I guess they could, I don't know. It was crazy.
We are very fortunate that we live in such a beautiful and desirable part of the country, because a lot of the news that you see is national.
Sure.
And a lot of that news is they have inventory, it's sitting, there are price reductions. Well, that's not applicable to our market.
Not at all.
When you look at what the market's doing in the greater Philadelphia area, the demand outweighs the supply, period. Yep. So with that, it continues to be a very busy market. When a great product is listed and it's priced correctly, it will sell quickly. And there are multiple offer situations that happen all the time. That's still happening. There's been an ebb and flow to the market where there have been periods of calmness, but it's pretty much remained as a seller's market for the most part.
Sure.
So and there's a lot of cash out there.
Crazy because, each market's very different. And like this market, there is a lot of cash out there. Like people have it to spend.
Right.
But, you go towards Philly or something. Maybe I'm wrong. But other areas, there's just like not a lot of cash buyers.
Right.
I don't know. It's so wild.
Right.
I just hear stories. You're in it. I hear it. Like I don't know what's true versus not, but it's crazy. And with interest rates too, like people are waiting for it to come down. We don't know if it's going to come down because we have other market concerns with the war going on now. It's crazy. So there's all these variables to how it works. What were some like big milestones in your real estate career? Because I know I've been to a couple of them in my head that I thought were milestones, and I just want to hear from you. And I'm sure the viewers are excited to hear because you've worked with, celebrities, great people, athletes. I'm sure you've been in a lot of wild situations.
Yes, I don't really need to watch TV. I don't watch much TV. People are like, "Oh, what are you binging on Netflix?" I'm like, I am walking around God's best cast of characters.
It's called Cary Simons.
I'm on set every day with real estate, so it's every day is different. Every property is different. Every transaction, every client's different, and that's one of the reasons I really love it too, because it's more dynamic. I'm not the person that you're going to see sitting in a cubicle from Monday through Friday. That does not suit me. So
no way.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with so many different types of people from all walks of life. And I think, looking back, I've always been genuinely curious about people. Right?
Sure.
I have always taken an interest in other human beings, whether it's a stranger somewhere and you strike up a conversation. And I've always been rather kind of inquisitive. And at the end of the day, most people don't take a genuine interest in other people and ask them questions. So time and time again, people would say to me, 20 minutes into the conversation, as a stranger, I can't believe I just shared all that with you. Well, it's because I asked, right? And then most people are happy to talk about themselves or life, right?
sure.
So real estate is a relationship business. It is not a quote unquote sales business. Yes, there are sales components to it. You are selling real estate, okay? And you have to market that and everything that goes behind that. But it is a relationship business, and you are an advisor. You are advising them on so many different things from beginning to end to get to the finish line. And you are dealing with some major life events, some negative. They say the 4 Ds make the real estate world go around, right?
Yeah.
So death, divorce, desperation, and desire. So 3 out of 4 can be negative. And even if it's desire, moving is stressful. So, but anyway, I got off topic here, I think. But
all right.
So what are some of my biggest wins?
And we don't need addresses, right? Like just
No, we don't, because some of my bigger wins were off-market private deals that no one knows about. I had a huge land sale over in the mainline area last year that was not on the market. I had to approach and quasi-stalk the property owner until I got his attention. And it was a very long process to get there between the parties, but I brokered the deal off-market, and it was a very sizable sale and a record-breaking sale in many ways. And I'm proud of that secret.
Yeah, you should be.
That's not publicized.
That area is so competitive. I mean, it's just like here. It's
absolutely.
competitive.
Yes. And I've had a lot of different victories with, the beginning of this year. My first closing was that gorgeous property that you filmed for me. That video is amazing.
Thank you.
But I feel like that was a big accomplishment as well.
Yeah, like I guess my question, like what properties do you see, like do you specialize in specific listings? One that comes to mind is like the equine world. Like you really do a lot of equine farms and like that industry. I've done quite a few for you.
Yes, you have. Yes. And I love those. Again, it comes down to variety, right? But selling farms is a different animal, pun intended,
It really
right?
is. I mean, everyone that we go to, like when I first get there, it's like an hour-long walkthrough to make sure we get everything that's important, because it's a very niche, listing.
It is very niche, and I have sold my fair share of farms and equestrian properties in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Every property is different, and the larger scale properties that have a lot of acreage, a lot of them are under conservation or preservation in our market. So they can't be developed. And that's a beautiful thing. And it's part of what keeps our area so beautiful and tranquil.
For sure.
But with that, there's a lot of technicalities involved, because there are legalities, and these conservation deed of easements they tell you what you can or cannot do with the property. So time and time again, you get a lot of phone calls from people. They just see 60 acres. They're excited. They think they're going to build things and do a compound or develop it.
But it comes to a halt.
Well, right. So I have to explain to them what they can or cannot do there. It gets into so many different things, and there are various conservation and preservation easements. So no two of those are alike either. When there is an equestrian property, that's a different animal. I've learned a tremendous amount. I am not an equestrian. My sister is. So I have her on speed dial. I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount.
I was going to say, when I've been working with you, you seem like you know quite a bit about it. So
I do now. And I mean, because my sister grew up riding horses. My sister has a small farm in Bucks County, and I've learned a lot from her, and she's has always been available to answer questions. And each equestrian property is different, so the homeowners are also explaining to me, and it's its own world, basically. So you do have to be knowledgeable and well-versed in that as well. So, it's certain properties you can pretty much tell who's going to buy them or not. And when someone calls on an equestrian property and they're not an equestrian, there's a small percentage of the time that they buy it, because what are they going to do with the ancillary buildings, right?
Sure.
If they're a car collector, okay, fine.
Makes sense.
So I've had people call and say, well, I would convert the indoor arena into a sports complex for my sons. I guess they were going to be Olympic athletes. I don't know, but doing different sections of turf, basketball, wrestling mats, etc. So sometimes there is a plan
Yeah, of course.
for that, for some sort of adaptive reuse. But
I think it's funny, like the equestrian people, like they're all so different people, but somehow still the same type of people. Like they're very like blunt, right to the point, rough around the edges. You would never know they're, loaded if they own this huge equestrian facility.
Yes.
But I just remember the one time the woman like whips off her UTV and she's like, "The hell are you doing? Just press the button to get in the gate." And I was like, "I don't know." But she was like, "Just come on in." And I was just like, "All right." But like, I feel like a lot of equestrian people, like they don't deal with bullshit. They're straight to the point.
Right.
They want what they want. And,
Right.
But it's just, I think that's the best part about real estate. So I have a lot of my friends ask me like, "Man, you get to walk through so many cool houses." And like, I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I really do. Like,
yes.
I get to see all these different ways people live their lives. And some are extremely luxurious and very private, and we have to sign NDAs and whatnot to shoot some of these homes. And then other are, very welcoming and warm, and they don't care about their privacy as much. And they're, big parts of the community. Some are very wealthy, and some live very moderately.
Yes.
So I think that's the coolest part about our job. Again, building relationships with a stranger.
Right.
And I feel like I navigated that part of my like career and like focus was from bartending. I would have a Joe Schmo guy walk in and he could be a mega millionaire, high exec at Merck, but he comes into the pub and he just wants to have a pint and, a bite to eat, and he wears his street clothes, and coolest guy ever. You would never know.
Right.
And then you have a guy that dresses, top to bottom in Louis Vuitton or whatever, Gucci, and he might not be even close to as wealthy as that guy.
Exactly.
And it's just like all different types of walks of life that, people put on this, personality suit to go out in public and change. But then when you step into their home, they're like their real selves. And it's just cool to see people in their home and how they live. And I just think that was such a cool aspect of what we do.
Well, I've always been, you're curious when you walk into someone's house and you're like, wow, this is incredible. What did they do career-wise? How did they get here, right?
How did they land there?
And most people will openly share with you their story, their life, and they share information and their wisdom, and you learn something from everyone. And
with you, they have to a degree, right? If you're going to sell or list their home, you have to know finances to an extent, right? Or not as much?
You kind of have to know the buyer's finances more than the seller's for a transaction.
Okay.
But, and yes, some people are uber private, whether they are quote unquote famous in some capacity or not. Some people just are private people. So you have to navigate through that as well and thoroughly screen and vet people before you bring them through to tour type of thing.
And that's something that's more common than not around here. People
Agreed.
Are very private in this area.
And to your point, sometimes NDAs are signed. You mentioned professional athletes. Yes, that's, that's very important to them, their privacy. And then they post their lives on social media, and all their fans and kids in the area figure out where they live in 2 days anyway. But, it's,
seriously.
But, it's privacy is very important to them, and understanding their needs and getting them situated where they need to be. And they have a very short period of time to do that.
Sure.
Often they'll send their team out, their personal team, their, one athlete.
Concierge
a few years ago, the financial advisor flew in from California. He was involved. There were 3 people for that one. And they made the decision for the client because he was in a different state, wrapping up matters there. Exactly. So you kind of help get them situated for what they need in the area, because they come ahead of time to scout it out and figure out where everything is, right? So that's always fun too, just to be in different people's worlds and lives and totally different career.
It's like, wow, that's how that works, because you never know until you see it, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, talking about, these crazy properties and some of the milestones, what is the market doing today, and like, where do you see that? And like, no one really knows, right? But we can speculate and have, thoughts. Like, what do you think the market's going to do over the next 5 to 10 years from today?
So, COVID happened. No one predicted a global pandemic, right? And we also didn't know how the market was going to shake out when we were all trapped in our houses with shelter in place. And that's when I looked at my husband and said, what did we just do? Because he joined me in real estate full time. I'm like, now we have all of our eggs in the basket. And I thought the market was going to crash like 2008. And I survived that market. I learned during that market. I started in 2006, and it was a great way to learn. Well, I will tell you that in a down, difficult market, it was good training. But anyway, we weren't really sure what was going to happen. And then once we broke through to the other side, the market just skyrocketed, right? In the suburbs, it did. So everybody keeps saying the market's going to change, the market's going to change, it's going to crash. But, it's 2026 now, and that hasn't happened. And I think you have to look at, like I said, real estate is very local. It could be raining here in Doylestown, but 15 minutes away, it's not, right?
Sure.
So our market, we still have very low inventory, and the demand outweighs the supply. So
the U.S. is short like 780,000 houses or something. I was just reading. Like, that's insane.
It is. But then there are other parts of the country where their inventory is sitting and not selling, and they're having price reductions. So in our market, I see it continuing to be a healthy seller's market for the most part for the foreseeable future.
Sure.
And as you mentioned, there are a lot of global events that impact other markets, stock market, real estate market. It's all interconnected. So who knows what will happen, right? And when something big happens, that has an impact. But the funny thing is, sometimes when the stock market drops, it fuels the real estate industry because people are looking where to park their money. And there are only so many places that you can move money, right? So the stock market, crypto, and real estate, right? So metals, golds, that's all stocks. But, so it's interesting to see what happens, how one market impacts the other. But overall, I don't see the market completely flipping and doing a 180 and becoming a buyer's market anytime in the near future. Hopefully it becomes a more level and even market, because it's very stressful for buyers to try to buy a house today.
Some of my friends, I just turned 33 on Monday, and like half of my friends, from high school and stuff, are still like trying to navigate. Like, why am I still renting? Like, I can't afford, a $500,000 house at 30 something. Like, not many people can, and it's a lot different from when our parents were buying houses. Like, the house would go for what, $70,000, $50,000 back in the 70s or whatever. So it's got to be frustrating, and it's a timing thing. It really comes down to timing. We got lucky, Lindsay and I. Like, we got into a house in 2020 before shit hit the fan. And, interest rates were low. They were like low 3s, high 2s, which is probably going to be unheard of.
Your timing was amazing. The timing doesn't get better than that. And those are historically low interest rates. So you were able to capitalize off of a historical event and time frame, basically. So now you're in a great position.
And I've talked to a few people around here that had the same scenario, and some of them bought, $3-4 million houses, like just people that I knew from the bar, not direct friends or whatnot, but like those people made out like bandits.
Yes.
Like now those homes are $7 million.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy. So timing is, timing is a big part of the market.
I think that our market will continue to be a strong and busy market where things sell at a pretty quick pace, and favor the seller in for the foreseeable future. It's hard to predict the cycles anymore, because COVID completely threw it off. But so our market continues to be busy. There were some lulls here and there, but even I sold a log cabin in Buckingham off of Carversville Road, and I sold that between Christmas and New Year's. And we had multiple offers, and it went over list, and there was weather, but kind of a cool time of year to sell a cabin in the winter, right?
That's probably why it sold.
Right.
No,
So that's unique, and typically the buyer pool for those unique properties like that, sometimes they can take a little longer to sell, or there's a lot of curious people, but only few people are a fit. But so even in the winter we were busy in the holiday season, but now we're in the spring market. So it's, I was chatting with you earlier that, your April schedule's crazy because now the grass is turning green. People are getting their properties in shape. So the inventory will continue to come on the market, and, things are moving at a fast pace. So yeah.
This episode probably won't be out in time for people to quickly realize, but, we see listings about 3 weeks before they hit the market. And I can just tell you, like, inventory around here is gonna start sky. If we're that busy,
Right.
that, you know, we're not the only player in town that shoots real estate.
Right.
So like it's gonna get busy, I'd imagine, which is exciting. And I don't know if people are just, you know, late to preparing. Usually we get calls in like January, February.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we want to list in April, May.
Right.
So, you know, let's set a date now. But this year it was like a little slower into January, but as soon as February hit, it was like, hey, we want photos. Even in March, like, we were busy this month. So yeah, it's exciting to see. I think that also, like, what helps the market around here, there's so much diversity in types of houses. You know, you have your like Art Decos, you have your
Yes.
traditional historical, you know, you have these super ultra modern homes going up on the river, even up into Pipersville now, and like Tinicum. Like, there's some wild architectural builds up there.
Yes.
You know, very flat lined, like Frank Lloyd Wright style homes. So there's just like a nice mix of, you know, different homes here that people, I think that's what makes it a stronger market too.
Yes.
It's not just like your typical historic farmhouse anymore.
Right.
Like it used to be.
Well, and, you know, you mentioned the New Yorkers coming during COVID, but Bucks County historically has always had a good relationship with New York. And there's some people that live in New York City that also have a place in Bucks County as their country home or their summer home. And then, you know, after 9/11, a lot of people moved here full time. And
It's
then
easy to get to New York or Philly from here.
absolutely.
It's so easy.
And it's an incredible value, and there are tax benefits too to being in Pennsylvania. So that's always been a huge market for us. So, and we're just really fortunate that we live in an area, like you said, we have such rich history, but then we also have such a variety of architectural styles. And
Gosh, I love it.
it's so cool. It's such a cool area.
My favorite part about what I do is the architecture that goes into it. I mean, there's so many great other parts to it, but I love like a great design. When I show up to the house and I see like this architectural masterpiece, I'm just like, oh my God,
Right.
I'd be here all day.
Yes.
You know, it kind of stinks in real estate because it's turn and burn. Like we need to get out of their hair.
Right.
So they don't last there all day. But
Right.
I get lucky with some interior design shoots or architectural shoots where I can spend some more time. But yeah, the homes out here are just, they're getting better and better, in my opinion. Some people would, you know, beg to differ, I'm sure.
Right. Well, some people don't like change, and certain areas and towns have changed dramatically, New Hope being one of them. And some of that is local, and some of it's influence from people coming in from New York and other areas and cities. And we're centrally located. It's easy to get to New York City, Philadelphia, even DC, and you can get to the beach or the mountains all within an hour and a half, 2 hours. So it checks off every box basically, and
Every box.
it's still an incredible value comparatively speaking to some other markets, particularly New York City.
And there's so much to do activity wise too. Like talk about the lifestyle that people, you know, ask you about around here. So people that relocate, like what do you tell them that's here for them?
Well,
they come from California.
You are selling a lifestyle. I actually have clients from California that are renting now. So we find them a place. But, you know, when they're focused on, say, like River Valley, right?
Sure.
Here in Bucks County in New Jersey. And I just tell them, go start up in Frenchtown and just bounce back and forth between all these little river towns, right?
So much fun.
To get the flavor of it. I give them, you know, it literally has everything. It has history, it has park systems, golf courses, highly rated school districts.
Great restaurants are coming in.
Exactly. You know, people love being on the water. I mean, that has surged since COVID too.
So many B&Bs too, I'm noticing.
Yes.
Like where they cook for you, they clean for you, and you can go to New Hope for the day, come back, your room's all clean for you.
Yes.
There's just so many like quaint things that aren't in a lot of areas, I feel like.
I agree with that 100%.
The golf here is phenomenal. You know, you live on a golf course.
Yes.
Yeah, there's just so many great attributes to this area that I think make it such a great area to be in.
Yes. No, it really
Parks,
is.
they have restaurants. There's always community things going on. And then, you know, New York is a 90-minute drive or an hour train ride.
Right.
Like we have a client that we're shooting for in New York a lot for lately. It's an interior design firm. And we just hop on the train and where is it? Hamilton Station or whatever. I don't know if it's Hamilton. I forget which one it is. But Princeton Junction. Hour ride, train ride. It's so much better than driving it. We're in and out. And to go to New York in an hour is crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's unreal. Like people all around the world travel to New York. So it's like to be an hour away by train is awesome.
No, it really is. And we have some of the best hospitals in the world in
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, that we are so fortunate. And that's the other thing. Now, medical professionals, match day was on the 20th on Friday, where the residents, they figure out where they're being placed for their residency. So we always see a surge from that. And some rent and some buy. Surprisingly, a lot buy, whether they can do it on their own or with the help of their family, because they know it's a 4-year, possibly more commitment. So sometimes it makes sense to just buy rather than pay rent for 4 years.
I'm sure they're hoping that they, stay for longer than 4 years because of how good the systems are. I mean, having Penn here in Doylestown now is wow. It's a learning hospital. It's where people go to learn. It's the best of the best.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I think they specialize in transplants. That is heavy for them. Heart surgery, open heart surgery stuff, and neuroscience is like a big one with Penn.
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible to be in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
At your disposal.
Yeah, we're fortunate.
But a couple other questions I want to talk about are, what is the process like when someone's either buying or selling a house? Like, what is the process? How does it work for you? Do they reach out to you via email, phone call? And then what is I don't need a full blown word, but how does that work? What does start to end look like from that?
So people reach out to me various ways, email, phone, etc. Sometimes they're personal referrals from other past clients who recommended me. Sometimes they find me online or they see my sign on a property. The first step is to meet with them, and it's an interview. That's the other thing. We go on job interviews constantly, right? So anytime you go on a listing appointment or you're meeting with a new buyer, that's a job interview, and you have to decide if you're the right fit. It's a matchmaking fit, right? So you don't get every listing that you go out on to interview, nor do I want every listing, right? Sometimes you're not the right match for the job. So
some people you're probably thinking to yourself, thank God.
Well, and when you say no to taking a listing, they're almost flabbergasted. They think that every realtor wants to duke it out and fight over listing their house. But sometimes it's not the right fit. You're not on the same page, or you can see the problems from a mile away of how it's going to go, right? You get together with them and you do that initial interview, get to know each other, tour the house, talk about how you would market their home, and take them through the steps from beginning to end. Professional photography and videography is a huge part of it. You take them through that, the contracts, listing, marketing, showings, negotiating, inspections, any problems along the way, and there are plenty that pop up, all the way through to the finish line. And it's not transactional. These are long-term relationships that you build. If someone gets into real estate for the money, they're not going to make it probably.
I feel that way in a lot of industries. You don't love it.
Right.
You're going to fizzle out.
You could work with a buyer for 2 years and they haven't bought anything.
Yep.
Right. Or you could list a house and they say, we changed our minds, life circumstances, and we're going to pull it off the market. And so that's a loss. That's a loss of your time and your investment, your money on advertising.
Yeah. That's not cheap.
All of those things, right? So you have to balance all of that out. Yeah. So really the listing process is that the initial step is interviewing and then helping them get the home ready and giving them the tools to do that. A lot of people have been in their homes for 40 plus years and it's overwhelming. So you have to hold their hand and you have to chart out a game plan with them.
Sure.
Just to get the home ready for it to be photographed, to get it on the market.
And there's a lot of partners involved, I imagine, like a stager, a handyman to some degree, or electrician, or whatever.
You have to have a lot of resources to be able to guide your clients and pull in the right professionals at the right time.
Yeah.
So, they say AI is going to take over the world and human beings, but I don't believe that. I think you can integrate technology and AI into your business in many helpful ways, but it's not going to replace a human being guiding you through one of the most important things in life and getting you from beginning to end.
I think we have the technology and capabilities to do it, right? I think it's feasible in the next 3 to 5 years for robots to pretty much run our lives. I think society doesn't want it. So I think we'll naturally or manually slow that down. Elon Musk, is talking about robots being a lawyer or a doctor.
Right.
In those scenarios, I think it would be really helpful to have a robot in there that has the mind of the top doctors in the world inside its, microchips to be able to give you an answer in seconds. But to have the human element in that room and have the conscious to make decisions, and same with an investment with real estate, that is an emotional, financial, stressful decision that a
Yes.
robot can't have a conscience to put around that and
Yes.
talk to you, talk through it with you. Maybe it can at some point, but I think you're right. I think AI is a tool that we're gonna, grow with and learn with, but I don't think it's gonna take over.
Agreed. Yeah.
That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it is such a relationship-based business, and that's how my business has always been. I don't do a lot of self-promotion or things like that. I'm very heavy on the marketing of my properties, more so than myself. Maybe I should market myself more, but I'm doing just fine without that, because if you work really hard and you do a great job and people trust you, they will come back to you, but they will also recommend you to other people. I have
For sure.
transaction right now. It's my 5th transaction with this family.
Wow.
And that was a buyer that you have these independent buyers that like to just call the listing agents, and they want to state that up front. Like, hey, I go direct to the listing agent. That's how I operate. Okay, fine. Let's meet. Right. Because sometimes agents try to then convert that person into their buyer. Right. Yeah. But you can't, nobody likes being sold to.
Of course.
Okay. In any industry. And that's not what it's about. And that's one of the big mistakes that people make. So you get together with them, and if you hit it off, you have a common ground or a rapport, and you can provide value for them and knowledge and information. That client's a perfect example that decided to work with me. And now I'm on their 5th. I did 3 transactions with them, and now their children are buying properties through me because they trust me.
Yeah.
So they just come to me now, where they used to just want to go direct. But that's a great thing. So a lot of my business is working really hard, doing a good job, and getting recommendations from people, and then repeat clients or family members or things like that.
I feel like a big one in your tier specifically is like, agents are so big, they don't answer their phone. But whenever I call you, you answer. You'll be on a showing, and you'll be like, hey, is everything all right? Can I call you back? And it's like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yes.
Just checking in. So that's huge. Just
Communication.
being there to talk. The biggest word or phrase that has come up on this podcast show between everyone I've talked to is communication.
Yes.
Building relationships through communication and transparency.
Yes.
And it's something that, I'm learning every single day.
Yes.
Like, there's some things in my head, like if something goes wrong, it's like, oh, I don't want to tell them, but it's like, why? Just run towards your problems. It makes it better in the end.
Right.
Like, hey, we, a couple files got deleted. Here's how, but always come with a solution.
Right.
That's what I'm learning. Like, come with a solution, don't come with a problem, and ask them for a solution,
Exactly.
They're your client, make them feel, shit, it was a loss, but here's what I have to solve that problem.
Yes.
So I feel communication is just the key to a successful business, successful relationship.
Yes.
It's just part of life.
Exactly. And the clients become part of my life, and it goes beyond the settlement. I mean, I've gone to weddings, baby showers, birthday parties, funerals, unfortunately. You're in the trenches with people every day for as long as that transaction is. And the relationship doesn't just end after they get settled into the house. And it's that's the other thing that I love about it. I get to meet so many awesome people from all walks of life, and just really kind of expands my circle of the human beings who are around me. And that's a really cool thing. And I've introduced some clients to each other. Like, Absolutely. Hey, you know what? Someone moves from another state and they have kids the same age, or they're in the same line of work. I've helped people get jobs. I had buyers last year. They were moving from DC to Pennsylvania, and she called me so distraught. She was laid off, and that changed their picture for what they were approved for. And it very stressed out. And I said, well, tell me about your job. What do you do what was your job? What's your background? Send me your LinkedIn and your resume. And I think at first she was kind of confused. I said, listen, I know a lot of people from various industries, and I am happy to connect you with them. That's what life's all about, connecting people and helping people. So she was so incredibly grateful for that then my brother was laid off from his job at the same time. And she kept asking, how's your brother making out? So she got a job before my brother did. And then she decided, I connected them because they had similarities and overlapped career-wise and skill set. And then my brother's like, oh, hey, I got together with Sandy for lunch. I was like, oh, you did? So, I mean, everybody, you try to pay it forward. You try to help people basically, because, we're we're all in this life together, and
Yeah.
it's not always easy. And even, people say realtors are so competitive. The really great ones, yes, of course they're competitive, but people help each other. I help
100%.
people all the time. We call each other with problems and say, hey, have you ever dealt with this before? Or what would you do, et cetera? And, you want to have good relationships with the other agents because it's going to help you and your clients navigate through stressful situations, and everybody has the same goal here. So
Yep.
again, the relationships go beyond the clients. It's broader scope to your colleagues, your peers, your competitors.
For sure.
So it's all relationship based. And yes, like you said, picking up the phone, it might be a dying thing to some younger generations,
Seriously.
but I think people like human interaction still for the most part.
100%. I prefer to call somebody rather than text them,
Yes.
especially if it's important. If I'm busy, I'll be like, hey, I'll call you later. Or
Right.
something. Some people prefer text message.
Right.
Like I know some really successful people, they'll study a whole food menu before they even get to the restaurant to just, get it out. Like, because they don't have
Yes.
time to be there at
Right.
the restaurant.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting how, people work and how people communicate. But
Yes.
I think we went over pretty much all your background and, you have great experience in the industry. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you? Like, how do you prefer? Someone to call you or email you?
Sure, they can call me, they can email me, they can text me.
I'll drop all your info in the
Yeah,
bio
absolutely.
description so that way people can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, with my website and everything, I'll give
Yeah.
that to you. So
I think Cary is, a wealth of knowledge in this industry. So, if you're looking to buy or sell, I think she's a great first call to make. Is it better for someone to call a real estate agent first or the mortgage lender? Is it better to be pre-approved before, or is it good to get started with you to at least get the ball rolling?
I think talking to a real estate agent first is great. If when I have new clients that call me, if they've already talked to a lender, that's fantastic because I am going to weave them in if they're not a cash buyer.
Sure.
And then I kind of help them chart out the steps of what we're doing.
And if you don't have a lender, Cary, I'm sure, has a wide network
absolutely.
of people to connect you
Yes.
with. Or if you need an electrician or a handyman or
Yes.
someone, she has someone to, hand over to you.
Absolutely.
But it's been great to have you on here. I was excited when you signed up. Thank you for your time. And,
thank you for having
going over
me.
everything. And I'll see you sometime this spring, I'm sure. Thanks for tuning in to the hOMe Show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and found something you can take with you. If you like this episode, be sure to follow us and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And if you're a local leader in the real estate, design, or construction industry and want to share your story, visit om-media.com to apply to be a guest. Until next time, remember, you can't go home without OM.